Brad, let's now switch to the subject of drunk drivers. We've seen very tragic situations and consequences from drunk drivers. If you're in a car crash and you think the other driver who's run into you or caused this crash is drunk, what are the first things you should do?
Well, we talk about this in other segments, but we'll repeat some of it here. If you believe the person who hit you or is responsible for the accident has been drinking, or they're drunk, or they're under the influence of any kind of drug at all or alcohol, you need to take some instant action. And that action is, first of all, to make sure they don't leave until the police show up. Drunk drivers quite often like to get in their car and drive away. They know it's important that they're not there at the time of the accident. They know it's important that they get home or they get somewhere and get more alcohol in them. Drunk drivers, you sit around and you can hear them talk at the bar. You hear people talk. If you've been in an accident and you've been drinking, go somewhere, start drinking some more, because the police cannot track, nor can the experts track, how much alcohol you had on board at the time of the accident. So you want to try and keep them there. You want to try and get other people who are there, if they're there, to help verify that there has been drinking, that they can smell alcohol, that they're glazed eyes, all the indicia that you have with respect to drunk driving. And if at all possible, you want to have others help you keep them there.
Sometimes there's witnesses at a scene and you can solicit their help to keep the drunk driver there.
You know, that works both ways. If you're a witness at a scene and somebody's been drinking, try and keep them there. I'm not talking about getting into a fight or using physical force, but I am talking about trying to keep them there, as in if you can get the keys. If they go somewhere, try and keep track of where they're going. Try and make sure you know what the ID is. Try and make sure you get their driver's, the license plate number. And try and get the police there as soon as possible. When you're calling and reporting it, tell them you believe there's drinking involved.
And if the person's trying to leave, you should tell the police you think he or she's trying to leave.
Absolutely. Make sure they know what the emergency situation is, versus saying, hey, we've all stopped, there's been an accident, and we're trying to cooperate with each other.
So the police come on the scene and they say what happened, and then you should tell them that you suspect this person is drinking. What do you do from there?
If the police are taking it from there, let the police do the job. They're going to do the job. But one of the things that you face in an accident is you have to remember that just because somebody's been drinking doesn't make them automatically liable in the accident. Too many times we run into people who say, well, they were drunk, so they're responsible. The police are still going to investigate, and you need to help the police in the investigation of how the accident happened. Was there negligence involved? Was there inappropriate driving involved? Another thing that's always considered, oh, well, we'll get more money because the person was drunk. Insurance companies rarely will add $1 to the settlement because their insured was drunk when the accident happened. Or at least that's what they're going to tell you, because they don't cover that.
So the police will test the person if they deem it necessary, and then you need to get your hands on those test results.
Ask the police to test. See if they will. If they're not testing, tell the police you believe there's some alcohol involved, and tell the police why. But also continue with the rest of what's important. Tell the police how the accident occurred, why it's not your fault, why it might be the responsibility of somebody else. Make sure you're doing the same thing. If you've got your camera, take pictures of where the accident happened, where the debris from the accident fell. Don't think it's an open and shut case just because there's alcohol.
So just because there's alcohol, there has to be the cause of the accident, like running a red light, like speeding and running a red light, like rear-ending somebody at high force, or violating any of the traffic laws.
Absolutely. Now, you know, another thing you can try and do that becomes a very tough part for people in a civil case, and that's learning where the person was drinking. Where did they get drunk? That's very hard. When you're first there at the accident, you can always ask them, have you been drinking? Where have you been drinking? Where'd you go? Who gave you the alcohol? If it's a minor, you might want to know that too. But you can't force them to tell you. The problem you run into is after the police have been there and after they've given a citation and they've charged that person with drunk driving. They now have certain rights as criminal defendants that may keep you from readily getting this information.
But why do you want the information where they were drinking and that sort of thing?
Well, if it's minor, the person who supplied the alcohol to that minor is responsible for the injuries, and that person can be held responsible for what we call punitive or exemplary damages for handing out alcohol to a minor.
So if a minor causes this collision and they're drunk, you certainly want to know who gave the alcohol to the minor.
Absolutely. And like I said, you may not necessarily be able to get that information for quite a while afterwards, because before you can go in and make that minor start making those kind of admissions or giving you that information, the criminal part of that case has to be completed.